Cursed by the old gods in Bethany, we are 5 immortals doomed to walk the earth until we complete our 1,001 tasks. After centuries of having our memories stick around, we're ready to complete our destiny and die. We are, for now, the Immortals. It's episode 62.
Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
62 is twice 31. Jeez, it's weird that both of us were going to say that.
Yeah.
That's your great bit of number trivia?
Yeah.
They're both prime numbers.
Well, 62 isn't prime.
No, but 2 and 31 are.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's cheating.
Meh.
Whatever. Anyway, I'm Austin.
I'm Adam.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Lee.
I'm Pedro.
And we are the Immortals. Every week we review one of the 1,001 movies, albums, food, songs, children's books, and television shows that you must consume before you die. We do this because we are immortals who are cursed. Why do you not listen to the beginning? It just happened like 60 seconds ago. Come on, people. And, yeah, Bethany, Big Bad Bethany, has cursed us and threatened us that if we don't complete this, or keep doing this, she's going to hurt us and not kill us. And that'll be bad, because she's using these reviews to power something bad.
Yeah.
So we're just cowards, and we're going to keep doing this as we try to figure out what to do. Every week, we are assigned a probably random number from a mole working within Bethany's control. I mean, if she's listening to this,
Definitely not a mole.
someone else.
Yeah.
Fuck.
There's
Whatever.
a different mole. And
Not the intern.
Not the intern.
There's no going back. We blew it.
Oh, man.
Well, I mean, it's not the intern, though.
If only someone enters this show. Anywho, and the intern, in the somebody, gave us the number 487 last week. And if we look at the 487th entry in all these published books of 1,001 movies, albums, yada yada, this is what we're going to review this week. The movie is Andrei Rublev.
The album is Wild Gift by X.
The food is sea cucumber.
The song is One Nation Under a Groove by Funkadelic.
The children's book is The Bear's Famous Invasion of Sicily by Dino Buzzati.
And the television show is Star Trek Deep Space Nine. But let's not go into that exciting space adventure. Let's get right into Andrei Rublev. I hope that clip was in English.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, we always pause so you can insert a clip, and I was like, what the frick clip are you gonna use for this movie? Like, there's barely any like nothing. Wow.
Could do
Just-
bells ringing.
No, just screaming.
Yeah, that too.
Just screaming.
Yes.
Yeah. And Russian.
So anywho, Andrei Rublev, this is a film from 1966. It's directed by one of the most acclaimed directors of all time, Andrei Tarkovsky. He is a director who's only made a couple of films, and all of them are well-renowned. This is obviously one of them. Sight and Sound, every couple of years, they get the top critics around the world to compose the list of the greatest movies of all time. And once again, Andrei Rublev made the list. In fact, I believe it was number 27. This is much like a Russian novel, a dense movie about a whole lot of things. Sometimes about nothing, mostly about everything. It is bleak as all hell. It is religious in a way that makes you feel like sad about religion, and scared and cold because it's Russia. But mostly, it's about the real-life painter named Andrei Rublev, who has a gift to kind of paint great moments in religious history, and he travels to do so while constantly in conflict with his faith and morals and endurance and just everything. Everything, I guess. This is a 3.5-hour Russian film.
God, it's really long.
And
So
I think
long.
it's important to note, like, he's an icon painter, which is sort of specific within Eastern Orthodox Christianity. So icons are like really important focuses of worship. Like, they're not just decorative. They have they have much more of a spiritual significance. So his art is inextricably tied to his religion, which I think is important in the way that he experiences his life. But that's just my nerdy Christian hat right there.
No, but it's important in the film because everyone takes this as an enormous responsibility.
Yes,
People
exactly.
would be like often praying to these images.
Exactly.
And yeah, this movie is a whole lot. Adam gets to go first. Adam, what did you think of Andrei Rublev?
Yay! It was a little hard to follow, a little hard to keep track of the characters. But aside from that, I got a lot more into it about halfway through the film, like when they start getting attacked by the Tartars. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it is a hard narrative to follow. I think it's mostly you have to look at this as like kind of a biopic, really, where it's just a series of scenes about this guy's life that I think you kind of have to make your own conclusions based on what you're seeing about his artistry and his relationship to the world and to God and all that.
Did you find it satisfying?
No, I didn't. No, it didn't have that same kind of catharsis that I am used to and prefer in Western films. But I do appreciate that kind of bleak emptiness that it had, and I think it is a worthwhile watch for sure.
Pedro, what do you think?
I liked this movie. I guess full disclosure, I watched the 3-hour and 5-minute version.
There is 20 more minutes that you got to find right now.
Yeah, is it? So
I watched the same version.
Yeah, I watched the one on Filmstruck. So
Which is
Wait, it's on Filmstruck?
yeah.
Yeah.
we watched the DVD. Wait, 3 hours and 20 minutes.
We watched
205.
This one is
Yeah.
like 2:58 or something.
No, it's 3 hours and 3 minutes. I think.
Oh, okay. And we watched the 205
Yeah.
minute, which is like 3 hours and
180.
Well, there are like 5 different versions of this film, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But so yeah, I watched. I don't know if they just lopped off because the story is told in like chunks, I guess, as time progresses.
Yes.
Like little chapters. I don't know if they just shortened some of the chapters or if they left off one of them.
I believe they shortened chapters.
Okay. That
So
would make
I know
sense.
Tarkovsky himself kind of redid the edits.
Mhm.
Like the first Criterion disc, which is what I saw,
Mhm.
the 205. Then he preferred the shorter one,
Okay.
but I don't know much more beyond
It
that.
was weird because the Filmstruck caption said until Criterion released this 205-minute one. I'm like, that's not the version. But, oh well.
As he whispered to the screen.
Yep. But no, maybe it's because I have a half hour less to watch, but I actually did this in one go, and it wasn't like a trek, really. It was actually pretty easy to watch, partly because it's like oddly gorgeous, even though it's not the images themselves, but like the whole thing. How the hell did this guy... So this is Soviet Russia, so everything was owned by the government, right? So this is basically a state-sponsored film. How did he get enough money to create just those giant shots, 1,000 horses, thousands of people? I don't know. It was impressive. It was really well done. The story itself didn't engage me as much, but as just a visual, I rather enjoyed it.
You know, it was interesting this time. I was kind of looking at the camera work as something that would like draw me in more, and it didn't this time because I've seen almost all the Tarkovsky films, and there are a few of them I really like, which are Solaris and Ivan's Childhood, and some I think are gorgeous, like The Mirror, and some that are even more incomprehensible than this one, which is like Stalker. And this, like, the way he uses the camera is so curious because you will have him following a subject, not always Andrei, but somebody, and they kind of just kind of wander through chaos or almost through, like, nothing. And the camera, I did appreciate how it always moved in a very almost unpredictable way. it glided in a bumpy glide, as I keep contradicting myself. Like it's always like them out in the fields, and they're going out here, and they're moving, and it's foggy, it's gross. Like it's not a pretty landscape ever, but it's a really curious way of depicting it. I guess it isn't glamorizing at all. In fact, it's the only thing it glamorizes is the last 5 minutes of the movie when it shifts to color and you see the actual Andrei Rublev creations. That I felt like was intentionally like trying to evoke beauty in the frame.
I think the spilled paint was, well, it was pretty, but it was also sad. There's a scene where they spill paint and it's like you see it rolling into the river. I thought that was really nice.
Yeah.
But also, it's gone. Emotions.
Oh, did you feel things?
I felt things.
That's good.
Just a little, though.
That's what they're going for.
Good.
Lee, did you like this film?
Kinda. Like, this is a really weird movie because the first hour of it, I was really into it. I was like, oh yeah. And I was totally paying attention and I knew what was going on. And I was following along. And then something happened and the second hour lost me.
Really?
Like, completely. And I had no idea what was happening. And it's in Russian, so I can't really, like, read the Wikipedia page while I'm watching the movie. So I didn't want to keep pausing it because I didn't want to make this 3-hour movie a 6-hour movie. So I was quite lost for good portions of it. I did find it really weirdly beautiful. Like, it is a very well-crafted movie, and the imagery is absolutely gorgeous, but it just, the plot, I feel like, was a little too complex. Like, I kept thinking this would make a really great mini-series.
I kept thinking it would make a great novel, or like there was something about like what they were trying to do with the character work, particularly about Andrei Rublev. And I kept reading various summaries to try and like figure out what the fuck was going on because I had the same problem that Lee did. And a lot of what they were trying to convey was sort of deep and complicated in a way that I felt like I felt like the dialogue didn't always measure up to. Like it just did, you know.
Yeah.
Some of the like deep philosophical concepts that I think he was going for, the sparseness of the film, because it has a certain sparseness to it. It doesn't work quite right. I had actually the opposite. If we think of the film in like thirds, approximately, where the first third is like them journeying about, and there's a guy with a face on his butt at one point, and all that stuff, and the second part being the war part, and the third part being after that. I felt like I was most engaged by the war stuff, which was sort of an engaging and really sad and sobering portrait of like famine and difficulty that I was really intrigued by. But I don't know. I didn't dislike it. It's just I'm trying to figure out like who. It's really interesting to me. Like Sight and Sound, the big survey of, and it surveys like tons of directors and other people, ranks this as like in the top 50 movies ever made. And I guess I missed whatever it is about this movie that makes it that. You know what I mean? Like I get why I'm not unhappy that I watched it. I will admit, I feel a little bit like a dilettante. I feel like there's going to be smart people who are going to say, well, that's just because you didn't understand the symbolism of the blah, 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 blah. And, like, I missed it. Sorry.
I feel like a big thing that was missing from my own point of view, probably for most of us, I don't know a lot about medieval Russian history.
That was my thing.
Yeah, so I think there was a lot that we were, or at least that I just couldn't catch as, you know, they were talking about a prince revolting against his brother, how Christianity was a big theme, all that stuff. I didn't really know how it fit into the culture and the people at the time.
Yeah.
So
I could only really understand Christianity from the perspective of the characters, and there's only like so many characters that you follow, and a lot of them are depicting their faith in terms of their artistry, which I thought was really interesting because, like, as Andrei Rublev is to go to the first thing that we're seeing him create, as the poet is asking for him, Tubla something, that guy.
Sure.
The Greek guy?
Yeah, the Greek guy. Yeah.
Theo
like,
something.
Like, on the way, you see just some bad killings, and you see a woman, like, tie him up and, like, seduce him and whatnot. You see him, like, he's not seeing any, like, positive moments of faith. He's not, like, walking down the road and seeing a good Samaritan. He's just kind of always in a dissatisfied state. And from that dissatisfied state, he can still make great art that is appreciated. And I think that continues to confuse him. And I think that aspect of, like, mixing in the fate and the artistry, and it kind of came up later for me in a curious way when the young man is working to make this great bell. And he is always looking for the right clay, and his father told him the secret to make a great bell, and then they do it. They make a great, beautiful bell, but he goes, I failed. My father did not tell me the secret. This is like,
Right.
It's further dissatisfaction. There's really hardly any, like, great triumphant moments in this movie, and it's such a, like, even when the jester completes his ridiculous antics that are very physical, the guy's jumping all over the place. Everyone claps, and he just, like, gets exhausted and just kind of walks out of the room.
He gets arrested.
Yeah, he gets arrested. Like, it's just such a bummer, to put it in the simplest words. You know what I mean? Like, but then it's appreciated long after they're gone. I mean, this film is made in his honor. This art has endured.
Yeah.
Even though he suffered. Russian novel.
This movie is very Russian.
Yeah.
Russian.
Yes.
But I do feel like you lose a bit of it because I like many of us, I am not familiar with Russian culture and Russian medieval history, so you don't get that cultural context like you would if we were watching a movie about Michelangelo or someone in the more, I don't know, Western civilized world and not necessarily Russia. We don't have that context. So I feel like that's part of the lost in translation that I was feeling.
Absolutely, I agree.
And they were, like, way out there, too, because, like, the Mongolians were helping out and stuff. So
Yeah.
they were, like, way out in the boonies.
All the Russian boonies?
The Russian boonies, yeah.
Yeah. Adam, you seem to be pondering.
Sort of. No. I really like what you said, Austin. I think that's a really good summation of the film. And that's probably why it's so highly regarded by a lot of people really by a lot of artists, is because it's about the longevity of your art. And,
Yeah.
And that's how you make your mark, even as shitty as your life can be. It can.
Because his life is
Yeah, not great. It's not great.
Yeah. It can, like, I don't know if it informs his work or if it's in spite of that, but you can make an argument either way, I think.
I think anyone's life, if they're a wandering monk artist in Siberia, medieval Russia, would suck. Just
in general.
That seems fair.
Even if he wasn't a good artist, it's like, well, it still sucks.
I mean, yeah, it's just kind
Well,
of like,
the kid with the bell, like, the entire fucking village was decimated by the plague. And he made this great bell. Like, his life was not awful comparatively, but I'm sure, like, everybody's life was awful at that time, yeah.
the town when it got sacked, that shit was crazy.
Oh my god, yeah.
Right? I watched the horse get
there's a
killed
moment-
over
yeah.
and over again. I was like, I think they killed a real horse there. And they did.
No, like, I seriously freaked out at that point.
They actually killed a horse on that scene. They, like, shot it and speared it or something.
Blood gushing everywhere.
They took it from a slaughterhouse. It was going to die anyway. And then they shot it in the head when it was over. But, yeah, that was a real-life, like, bleeding horse.
I like to think I'm pretty good with metaphors, but there's a shot very early in the film, and in fact, it's the menu image for the DVD, of a horse just like falling down and then rolling over and
Yep.
getting back up. What's up with that?
Yeah, it was just rolling around. It was happy.
That's what you took it as?
Yeah, like a cat rolls around. It saw the guy go up in the hot air balloon. He's like, wee, just rolling around.
I forgot about the hot air balloon. Like, I watched that yesterday, and I completely forgot about
yeah,
it.
it's a weird
Yeah.
beginning.
Once you get past that, that's when the film kind of clicks for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love the hot air balloon sequence.
It took me a while to put all the characters. So, like, I actually was more confused or lost for the first hour, and then, like, it sort of sunk in, like, who all these people are. That they were. I didn't realize that the three main, like, artist, actors, or characters, or whatever, were the three people in the beginning that walked in. The three hooded people. I was like, which one is fucking Andrei? Who's the artist? It just took me a little while. Afterwards, it was better, easier to follow. But, yeah. Good stuff.
I think it's time for hinges.
Yeah.
You know, I see it on the Sight and Sound list. I understand this. I enjoy watching it, but I have to be honest with myself. I like other his way more. This is a 3.9.
I have to be honest with myself. I recognize its artistic merit. I see some things that are valuable about it, but I did not enjoy watching it. Like, not even a little. Not even at all. Because I'm bad at art. But I feel like I have to rate it based on what I actually think.
Well,
like
yeah.
a 2.4.
All right, it's on the record.
All right.
I'm sorry, like, wait, no, but like, I don't, like, I
I'm
feel
kidding.
like I shouldn't.
I'm kidding.
I wanted to.
No, you're
I
allowed.
know.
It offsets me. I rate things because I like them, even if they're bad.
That's what criticism is.
Good.
Right, and I rate things that how I like them, even if they're really good, but I didn't like them.
When we get to Solaris, I'm going to praise the hell out of that one. But, all right, who's next?
3.4.
4.3. I kind of want to watch it again, all the way in a theater, so that I can like sit and pay attention, like completely, just like, and try to get it.
That would be a better experience, I
Yeah, I
think.
think so.
Yeah.
The person I was watching with, they're like, so you can sit down and watch Seven Samurai at any given time. You're apprehensive about watching this 3.5-hour Russian movie? I'm like,
Well-
I have no good argument against it.
Half of that movie is an action scene, so, like,
That's true.
that helps.
Yeah.
But, Lee?
I'm gonna give this a 3.75.
All right, that is Andrei Rublev, the classic film by Tarkovsky. You can check it out on Filmstruck, which I forgot was on there, and now I recommend to people. Anywho, Lee, what did we listen to this week for our album?
This week we listened to Wild Gift by X.
I just heard the sad song by another band, sung by another man. He gave me the once over twice. I said when, he said okay, so long. Only with the endless road.
X are an American band, new,
Ooh.
different for us. We don't get this very often. They're an American punk band from the LA kinda area. And this is their second album, which came out in 1981. It's an album.
Pedro got a big fucking grin on his face because he thinks now validating how you start off a thing. Don't
No.
do this to him.
No, that was just my commentary. Like, it's an album. I don't know how else to critique it.
So-
I do. We'll get into it. Yeah.
So wait, first, who all listened to it?
Adam.
Austin,
Are we saying our names?
apparently. So I enjoyed this album, and once again, this is, I guess, part of our drinking game. I don't know anything about music. As I say, 62 episodes in now. Still nothing. This seemed like a really fun band that is playing out of a garage and could be the band for Scott Pilgrim. Like, it just had a really fun, like, immediately high energy, like, fun little song, not too deep, but really, really fun, then it's over. And then go do it
Yeah.
again. And
It's kind of the definition of punk music. So when I was looking into research for this album, and as it why may be on the list, I was really confused because this wasn't like a new thing. It came at the very tail end of the punk movement. It wasn't exploring anything new with its like topics or content, and it didn't really do anything new technologically. So I don't really know why this album is on the list. Because if you listen to punk music, this album sounds like every other punk album you've ever heard.
Did the essay in the book help at all?
I forgot to read it.
It's okay. What I got out of this, I mean, my exposure to punk is basically the little that we've heard plus the Decline of Western Civilization movie. This seemed more fun. It seemed less angry. Do you think, is that a fair assessment?
No, I kind of agree with that. I feel like that's more of the California vibe. We'll see that more when Green Day pops up in like 10 years from when this album came out. 10, 15 years. So you get a more fun style. You don't get as many like political lyrics or anything like that. You just get like people having fun, talking about fun things. Like I would say almost like if this was anything, this would be the predecessor for pop punk, which became a huge thing.
That makes sense. Adam, what do you think of it?
Yeah, I agree. It had most of my punk knowledge comes from everything else that we've listened to on this list. But I really enjoyed it as well. It has kind of a really fun energy to it, which I could really relate to. But I do like pop music, so I feel like that's probably why, because it's closer to pop than it is to punk, is what it sounds like.
I think maybe I've not read any of the reviews for this album, but one of the things that really I think maybe makes this stand out with its energy is that it's kept up for the entire album.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't need like dip with a slower song. Like it has that energy the entire time, and feels maybe a bit like AC/DC of repetitive in a good way. You know, like
Well,
it's all
most
the same.
punk albums are going to be high energy the entire time. Like punk bands are not known for their ballads
Well, it's
or their
true.
slow jams. So
I think probably a more accurate description is not just high energy, but like an optimistic, happier energy.
Yeah, it doesn't go to like Matter than X or something like that. Like it has this like one style that works really well and works like distinctively as X, I guess.
yeah, I was thoroughly unimpressed with the whole thing. There was a time in my life where I really, really enjoyed punk music, and then I matured a bit, and I was like, oh, all punk music sounds the same. And so I kind of disappointed my teenage self just there. But it's true, like, yeah, you're going to get variations. And, like, one thing I really appreciated about X was they have both a male and female vocalist, which you don't get very often. It's usually just male or just female. So having both is nice. It's a nice change of pace. But for the most part, it just kind of sounded like generic punk music.
I thought she brought a lot of flavor to it. Having that, like, especially like right off the bat, because she sings the first song.
Yeah.
I thought she was a great addition to it, especially since I've heard so many dude albums.
Yeah, we have a very dude-heavy list.
The dude list. So I really dug this, and like I can't think of really like a single song that like stands out more than the other ones, but yeah, it's just it's likable for me.
One thing that did kind of bother me, and I am bad at like putting things on a timeline, so bear with me. A lot of the opening riffs and like the end riffs sounded like another song. Not another song on the album, just like, oh, that kind of sounds like a song, and it's like on the tip of my tongue, and I couldn't tell you what it's called, but that happened to me like with every single song on this album. And I don't know if like lots of people just kind of borrowed those riffs, or if they kind of borrowed riffs from other people. So that was something that was a little, it took me out of the album a lot.
I'm dumb. I didn't recognize that.
I didn't notice that at all. No.
And it's not like a whole riff, and it's not like a hook to a big pop song. It's just like, I feel like I've heard like those 6 notes in that succession before. So, and I could be going crazy there, so that just may be me.
Sanity is overrated.
Yeah.
Real.
Yeah, maybe that's why the old gods are having us do this is so that we go insane.
Oh, that's
Oh,
clearly
okay.
the case.
That makes sense to me.
It's a
Then why would
1,001
they-
of these
Why
things.
would they wipe our memories then? I feel like that's just kind of.
Because it's more fun to make us go insane again and again and again. Maybe they just
Yeah.
wipe our
To keep
memories
powering the
as
thing.
soon as we go insane. They just start over because the process is more fun than the result.
I feel that would happen way earlier for me in this show.
You're saying that you think you should be insane already?
I feel like
How do you know you're not?
that's the issue, isn't it?
Are we in the Matrix right now?
Braun.
No, we're covering that way later.
Okay.
Hinges.
Hinges. 2.5.
4.
3.4.
Adam's very happy with himself right now. All right, that is Wild Gift by X, just the letter X. And now it's time for the food segment, which
Yeah.
is been sitting right next to us. What is this?
This is sea cucumber.
Yo.
So normally I eat things before the boys do to taste them, so that I can say intelligent things about them. I haven't had that opportunity yet. I got a dish that it was on the chef selections at Moon Palace Restaurant in Chinatown here in Chicago, of abalone and sea cucumber with black mushrooms. So guys, the white stuff, or the lighter colored stuff, is the abalone. That's a shellfish. This stuff is the sea cucumber,
Looks like jelly.
and we should eat it.
All right,
wanna
one
eat it.
second. Early
Let's
thoughts?
See.
You eat it first. I'm not gonna. So, fun fact: sea cucumber is not a vegetable. Sea cucumber is an animal. Sort of. I mean, it is an animal, but like it doesn't have a central nervous system. Like it's like a weird slug thing with no brain that goes along the ground. And yeah, it's pretty common in Asian and Indonesian, East Asian and Indonesian cuisine. And it's a thing that I'm eating. I'll often eat it so that I can make my real comments because I don't want to spoil you.
Please,
It's
please
interesting.
don't spoil me.
Eat it. Eat it with your face.
I like the sauce.
Is
Not the white stuff, the other stuff.
This one's it.
Yeah.
It is slippery.
It is.
Yeah.
It is slimy. That is the word.
Well, I don't know if I get assess it as slimy until I actually have a bite of it.
Well, then eat it.
Well, because I was trying to put it on my fork.
Eat it faster. No, you were checking Twitter. I saw you.
I was tweeting for the show.
Oh, I don't believe you.
Mm. Stay on my fork, you
Okay.
Is it too slimy for you?
It really is. It really is too
interesting.
slimy for me. It does that thing where you try and bite down on it, and instead of biting, it sort of like slithers to the other side of your mouth, which is real unpleasant for me. I do not like it.
I think it's great.
Flavor-wise, super weird.
Well, I mean, it's tough because the sauce, like,
The sauce is pretty flavored, but I feel
Yeah.
like the aftertaste is definitely the sea cucumber, not the sauce.
Yeah.
And the aftertaste is super weird.
I don't think it's that strong. Am I insane?
No, I mean,
Had
we
two
just are
bites.
different. Because I'm also eating the abalone, which is involved in this. I'm getting a different aftertaste and stuff. We offered Adam some, and he is shaking his head.
No fucking way I'm trying that. It's terrible.
I do feel like, from an ethical
Just choke on
perspective, yeah, from an ethical perspective, sea cucumbers raise interesting questions about the morality of vegetarianism. Not that I'm saying that like vegetarians should eat this, but I mean, literally
No.
doesn't have a central nervous system
I
and does
am.
not feel pain.
You should fucking eat this.
Which means that for some vegetarians, I wouldn't be surprised if
I don't
it
care.
like passed various tests. I don't know. It's interesting. It's basically, my point is barely an animal.
So you're saying like people in a vegetated state are barely people?
No,
I mean, at
no.
that
I'm
point,
saying
yeah.
they have a central
what?
nervous system. This thing literally doesn't have a brain. And even the cluster of nerves that you might call a brain, if you remove it, it's still fine.
It just kind of moseys around and eats.
Yeah, it's pretty. They're pretty gross.
It's probably
actually.
discussed at panels at vegetarian conventions.
Yeah,
Can we not
that's my
this?
only point. Is that it seems like if you wanted to pose an interesting ethical conundrum to a vegetarian, sea cucumbers would be it.
I bet if there is a vegetarian convention, someone goes, "Well, what about sea cucumbers?" And then everyone goes, "Shh."
Oh no, we've been over this.
Well, that makes sense to me. That makes a lot of sense to me. I cannot deal with the slipperiness. I've had jellyfish as well before in my life. This is like jellyfish, but bigger. But like it's like it's like.
I think it's great.
Yeah, no, I don't like how it just, maybe it's just because it, like, I did this thing, I'm going to be graphic here. I took a bite, and then I, like, breathed in a little bit, like to swallow, like to start swallowing.
I know what breathing is.
Shut up. And then it literally slithered behind my molars where my wisdom teeth used to be, and out into my mouth, and it was awful, and I hated it. And those are my feelings.
The texture is...
Flavor-wise, it doesn't really have much of a flavor.
No, but it's tasty. Like it's.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it is. Like I keep eating
Or
it.
weird.
Is it a little bit of a...
Yeah, it's like
I'm sure it is. It's heavy.
It's a lot like.
I need more of them. I've had like 4 or 5 now, and like.
So they're not filling.
No,
No,
it's like eating pieces of like shellfish.
2 inches big.
They're little. They're like It's like eating little pieces of
It's
like.
not the gum from Willy Wonka. Like one doesn't make a whole meal.
Well,
It's hard to tell where the mushrooms stop and the cucumber begins.
yeah, the cucumber's the yellowy part where
No, I mean like flavor-wise.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And the sauce it's in is very nice. If you're into mushrooms.
Which I'm not,
But
but it's still good.
The texture does throw
just-
me off. Because
I
it's a
can't
weird...
do the texture.
It's a weird combination of like cartilage, connective tissue, and gelatin,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just sliminess. Because when you start biting it, it has almost no compression factor. It just splits and melts in the split, kind of like when you eat a piece of cartilage or good cartilage. It kind of melts, but it multiplies
Yeah, it's a
into
little.
these slippery little things that just kind of take over.
It's sort of awful. I guess here's my thing about it. I guess I don't totally understand why anyone would eat this if they didn't have to. Like, I understand if you are starving near a coral reef and you are catching various things and you have caught some fish, but the fish are really tiny, that catching the sea cucumber and cutting it up and you're like, woohoo, I can eat this, would be a reasonable thing to do.
So you're saying only if you're in Castaway should you eat
I
this?
kind of, look, there are some great foods that have been discovered because of famine. I mean, come on, oysters? Like,
That's
no way did humans figure out oysters unless they were fucking starving, right? And I feel like, and oysters are great, you know?
Oysters are great.
Shellfish in general, like, big fan. Mushrooms, for that matter. Probably, certainly some of your weirder mushrooms.
That reminds me of
Cheese. Like, the whole concept of cheese.
Beer.
Leavened bread. Beer. This is not at that level for me.
That reminds me of a great underappreciated Jerry Seinfeld joke, where he was pondering, like, who the hell was it sitting on their porch who watched a horse go by and said, that could be glue.
Yeah?
Yeah. So, I'm interested that you guys are as excited about sea cucumber as you are.
Well, I did start to feel the aftertaste on some of the bigger ones, and it wasn't like completely unpleasant, but it was a little bit annoying. I took a sip of my drink.
It's a little bitter.
It's a little bitter, and it just like sticks in your tongue a little bit. But it wasn't like too big of a hassle. Like I'm still going to eat more of this. But no, I think it's good. I think it's like a not my go-to appetizer, but if it's like a whole. If you're going to Chinatown, you have a whole bunch of things on the table. I'll take a couple of these.
I'd eat it, but yeah, that multiplication factor
Yeah,
and
the-
sliminess. I mean, it is a bit weird. I would almost prefer it if they were like little bite-sized pieces, just like because the closest thing I can explain is cartilage. It's that
Yeah.
bite release. It's just that feeling of like resistance until it just clicks and then it goes away. If they were like small bite-sized pieces and like rice or something, that'd be great. But like a big chunk of it is texturally unsettling.
It feels
Sometimes I have a hard time swallowing like a mouthful of
So
tofu
you
or
know what
something
it
like
actually
that.
reminds me of, which makes sense in terms of texture, is escargot. which
bit,
is
yeah.
French snails, which are
Probably related.
fucking delicious. I mean, yeah, they're at least
Never
both
had.
invertebrates. We gotta have them next
Oh,
time we're
we
at
will.
that crap place. They're fucking delicious. But I think it's a size thing.
Mm-hmm.
Escargot are really small. When you eat them, like, you just sort of, like, slurp them, maybe bite them
Yeah.
once, and swallow them. You're
I
done.
mean, oysters aren't that far either.
Right,
They've
and
got
these
that-
are just a little bit bigger.
This feels like JELLO for adults.
And a little firmer. It is a bit
A
firmer.
bit firmer. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Hinges.
Are we hinging?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hinge. I'll let you guys start.
Nope, that's not how it works.
Wait, I have to start?
Have you
I'll
not
start
started
if
the
you
show?
want.
Nah. I mean, like a 3, I guess.
4.1.
I'll give it a solid 4. Worth a shot.
Cool.
All right, that is sea cucumber. It doesn't look like a sea cucumber. Looks like a different thing entirely.
It looks like a big fat slug that goes around on the bottom.
Yeah.
Of the thing. Not
Yeah.
so, more like a caterpillar, like a fat caterpillar without a head or
They're
a tail.
honestly they're real gross looking. They're just one of those animals that you're like,
It's
I
got a hole in
understand.
the front and a hole
I
in the back.
yeah,
and
exactly.
that's
Like
it.
I understand. Like that's what I'm saying. Like animal seems a little strong for the sea cucumber, but sure.
Anywho, Pedro, what else did we listen to this week?
Oh, we listened to One Nation Under a Groove by Funkadelic.
Ready or not, here we come, getting down on the one which we believe in. Can I get it on my good foot? Good God. Oh, time I get down one time.
One Nation Under a Groove is a song by Funkadelic that
Let's
came
throw a
out in
sea cucumber at you.
1978. I didn't
Don't.
pause
It's
that
gross.
time.
It's covered in
Actually, yeah.
sauce.
Anyway, yeah, it's a funk song, and it's 7.5 minutes long, and it's a lot of fun.
But unlike other 7.5 minute songs, it's super fun. Like
Yes.
it doesn't feel like a burden to listen to a song that long.
It's not like a giant whatever work or what that evolves and stuff. It's actually kind of repetitive sounding wise, but it's a good jam. It's fun dance music, which apparently this is from their album also called One Nation Under a Groove, and this is sort of like a departure from their traditional sound, which is more rocky, which is weird because they're called Funkadelic.
What?
I don't know.
They're not called rock a hop. They're funkadelic.
The book says this paved the way for future funk. Is 1978 really like when funk first came out about as what this sounds
No.
like? I don't think so.
Lee says no.
Yeah. Also an American band, so we got 2 American bands this time. One funk, one punk. No? I'm the only one who thinks this is
What
fun.
is your point right now?
It's just fun to say. Anyway.
Sure.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's great. The voices are nice to listen to. I like the beginning a lot actually when they start singing. Just got a lot of beat to it, a lot of hipness, a lot of funk. Anyone else?
The funkadelic song has a lot of funk.
It does.
It
Weird,
does.
right?
Yeah. Real weird.
I found this song really enjoyable. I want to listen to it again. I only got to listen to it once, and I found it really inventive. Like they were for a long song. It doesn't do the same thing over and over, which is nice. I was really into it.
Yes, as was I. I very much tapped my foot along with the groove in this song and enjoyed nearly every minute of it.
Nearly.
Yes, around 6:34 to 7:03, I believe.
Wow.
Hit a very much a low point for me in the song, but other than that, I found it danceable and interesting.
You look like you just woke up and weren't sure this was the book segment or not. And went for it, but you were very cautious.
Thank you.
Lee, what do you think?
It was alright. I mean, it's definitely funk. It's funkadelic. If you've heard any of their music before, I would say you would be familiar with this. It was fine. It was too long. That was just my opinion.
I don't think I've heard Funkadelic before.
I don't know if I have.
I definitely
Unless
have.
they're in a
I like it
movie.
lot.
If you've seen Good Burger, George Clinton is in it and performs a song.
I've
Hello.
seen
Someone
Good
wrote it.
Burger, but I've really tried to repress all of those memories, so I don't think I remember any of that.
I just recently watched it.
Why?
Because my roommate was like, oh my god, you haven't seen Good Burger. And we were really high. I had nothing else to do on a Saturday night.
I was waiting for that one.
So you paused Andrei Rublev and said, Good Burger time.
No, it was like 2 weeks ago we watched it.
Okay.
That actually sounds like a pretty good antidote.
Yeah, I mean, someone else's idea. It helps.
Yeah.
Funkadelic, I like the song. It's enjoyable. I like that it starts right away.
Yeah, it does. There's
Like-
no build up.
I press play and bam, you're like mid-song.
Yeah.
To the point where I thought I messed up and got the wrong link. But no, it was fun. It was very enjoyable. I don't have much to say about it. It's just so likable.
See,
It's hard-
lickable?
Likable?
Likeable.
What do you think I said?
Lickable.
Lickable.
Yeah.
Sounded like lickable.
No, that's not how iPhones work.
It's not how songs work.
It's not how anything works.
Stop biting.
Except for suckers.
Suckers are lickable.
Goodness.
It's true.
They're suckable too.
And stamps.
Yes, stamps. I forget about those.
Yeah.
Anyway, song.
Okay, guys.
What are we doing?
Henges?
Fucking sure.
Sure, yeah, okay. 4.2. Solid song.
3.8.
4.
I'm going to say 3.4.
4 sounds good.
Alright, that is One Nation Under a Groove by Funkadelic. Now it's time for the children's book segment. And Adam, what did we read this week?
This week we read a book called The Bears' Famous Invasion of Sicily by Dino Buzzati. And it is the tale of a group of bears who decide that they're not enjoying their life in the mountains, and they decide to join, well, not so much join, but I guess invade the town of Sicily. And so that is the first half of the book, and they do invade and end up working with the humans in interesting ways, and that's all I got.
That's all. What?
Yeah.
That's all you got?
Well, that's for the plot.
Oh, but also you have the main bear's child is out there missing. We don't know if it's dead or alive. You got this magician who has a wand who can only cast 2 spells before his wand stops working, and he's an asshole. He turned all these boards into balloons.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun
Complex.
stuff in it, which
Yeah.
I glossed over for the joy of reading it for the first time. Austin,
What?
I think people should read this book.
It's awesome. I love this
It's a
book.
really good book.
This book is bizarre. It starts off bizarre right away. It's cast of characters. Tell me you read that, right?
I did, yes, I absolutely did.
Which are so funny and so
Yeah.
silly, and also include someone who's not in the book.
The werewolf.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because may or may not appear. It didn't.
Did
The werewolf
not.
is not in the book.
Nope.
That's cute.
Yeah, it's delightful.
The whole book is so silly and awesome, and the illustrations, even though they keep spoiling the story because it's not printed properly,
No.
are awesome because you have all these bears like lifting their arms up and being awesome. There's a reason why this was like made in Italy, and it's been translated here in America and a million other places.
Mm-hmm.
But in the edition we have, the reader's guide in the back of the book is written by Lemony Snicket.
Yeah,
Oh.
Lemony Snicket.
And you can see why Daniel Hadler, the real Lemony Snicket, is such a huge fan of this book, because it also like plays with the story in a weird meta way, goes in strange directions, is just overall awesome and dark sometimes. And his reader's guide is very, very Lemony Snicket. Did you read that?
Yeah, I read most of it. I kind of thought it took away from the book
Oh,
itself.
did you?
Yeah. Yeah, because it felt more like it felt like its own thing and kind of taking away from the book itself because it wasn't an actual reader's companion. It was
a parody.
tongue in cheek. Yeah. So I like on its own, I liked it. I liked Lemony Snicket. I think that it took away from the book.
Yeah, I saw it as like a sales pitch kind of thing.
Exactly.
How to get someone to read this like unknown book, bestseller, in character, writing a Reader's Guide parody.
Yeah.
But man, there's so many awesome sequences. Like the circus. That whole scene is insane. There's the kind of great, like in the second half, distrusting of the bears and the men of like who committed this crime and whatnot. That's awesome. The bears are awesome. The various types of characters are awesome. This book is awesome.
Yeah, it's really enjoyable from front to back. And there's also in this version, which was published in 2005. This version was originally in 46, the 1900s. There's a letter from Dino Buzzati to the illustrator, just kind of praising her illustrations, and it's just a really good analysis of her work on the illustrations. So I recommend reading that.
Kept making me laugh just because like the image of these like very simplistic not simplistic bear drawing, but like this very like drawn out stick figure shape of having just like bears with their arms up in outrage always makes me smile of the fun of the book while also dealing with like again some real dark things. Guns are used in this book and you don't know how it's going to end up. And the ending is really, really interesting. We won't say it because we really are covering it in this book, but I did not think the book was going to end there. The Reader's Guide threw me off because there were more pages in my hand.
It's very long. The Reader's Guide is
very long. Yeah. And the book just ended. There'll be one more chapter where that didn't happen. But that was right. I think it told the full story with that. This is great.
Yeah, another good find, I think.
Yeah, this completely caught me off guard because the title made me think it was a picture book, and it's not. It's just a really... It's chapter book. It's in the chapter book range, but it's much like the Lemony Snicket books. It's like it's a more sophisticated chapter book. It's more fulfilling.
Yeah.
Good adventure.
Yes.
I don't think you'd like this book.
No, I liked it.
I don't believe you.
I'm kind of honestly like mad about the Lemony Snicket part.
What?
Yeah. It just really it feels like such a publicity stunt to get people to buy this book, and it doesn't need it because it's really good. Dino Buzzati is like a famous Italian novelist.
Sure. Yeah, I will say I wish it was shorter because I think that even Lemony Snicket kind of ran out of ways to do the bit because they did one for like each of the 12 chapters, something like that. Like, including the cast of characters and such. And there's only so many times you can have your at-home activity be existential dread.
Yes.
But it was fun. Basically, I enjoyed having new Lemony Snicket to read, basically. But, yeah.
The book is great on its own.
Yeah. Technically, that's all we're reviewing.
Right, yeah.
So
I won't take that into account, but you can find a draft published earlier without the Lemony Snicket one, and then separately get the Lemony Snicket one and read it much later in your life. You'll have a better time.
Why do you throw it much later?
So that you have some distance between the actual story and the companion.
Yeah, but it's the Reader's Guide. It's referring to that book that you apparently read much earlier in your life.
It's not a real Reader's Guide.
Damn. Hinges.
4.3 for the story.
4.5 for the story.
And the Lemony Snicket part.
And the Lemony Snicket
part.
part.
I know you put it in there too, you son of a bitch.
I did it.
Damn, guys.
All right.
Pretty aggressive.
That was a weird positive review of The Bears' Famous Invasion of Sicily by Dino
Buzzati.
That's a great name.
Okay.
Dino Buzzati.
And now it's time for Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So, I'm not a Trekkie. I tried to be a Trekkie, and I failed
At what
because
point in your life did you try to be a Trekkie?
2009?
So recently, not as
Yeah.
not as like a kid.
Because it was, when Lost on the air, Lost was my religion. I adored Lost so much. And that the J.J. Abrams was going off to make Star Trek was like, okay, you know what? Here's my chance to get into this giant gap I have in pop culture, which is Star Trek. So I decided to do it right. I was going to try to watch all of Star Trek before the new Star Trek movie.
Jeez.
Because I didn't know how to do math back then, apparently.
Yeah, there's a lot of Star Trek, dude.
So I turned it on. Episode 1. Star Trek Original Series. Okay, you know what? Not every pilot is great. It's fine. It's okay. We're just going to keep on going. One disc later. Whew, yeah. Okay, this is why is this an hour-long show? Fine, it's okay. 2 days later, I gave up. Then I said, let's do the movies. Then the original series, the first movie. It's made by Robert Wise. That guy,
terrible.
He made West Side Story, Sound of Music.
Terrible.
Day of the Earth Stood Still. It's terrible. It's really, really boring. Rathacon's good. Search for Spock is terrible.
Oh, watch what you say next.
The next one's dumb.
The one with the whales?
I already forgot the title. So, but
It's called The Journey Home, and it's the one with the whales, and it's extremely important and the best movie ever made at the end.
So I kind of gave up on Star Trek because I enjoyed the Abrams films mostly because they were just Star Wars films.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
really fun,
Which is why
awesome
they kind of suck.
adventure films, and I liked them quite a bit. I enjoy all 3, even though he didn't make the last one. It's still kind of in the Abrams canon, I guess, of Star Trek films. And so when this was drawn, I was not looking forward to it because not only is it a Star Trek TV show, it's the 3rd one or 4th one if you're going to count the animated series, which I guess some do. Whatever. And I watched season 1 of this show, and I'm very, very surprised that I liked it quite a bit. It is the story of Commander Sisko, who runs Deep Space Nine, which is a space station, which is located right next to a artificial wormhole that allows for transportation from one side of the galaxy to another. And this is such a big deal because new people can go to the Gamma Quadrant, I believe. Mm-hmm. So now he basically kind of runs this city, which is now a giant, port, basically. And you follow him, and it's all located right next to a planet that just finished a civil war between the Cardassians and
more of an occupation by the Cardassians.
Yeah.
So not as simple like the Bajorans and the Cardassians don't both exist on the same planet. They actually the Cardassians invade. It's more of a like post-Iraq war kind of story than anything else.
Right.
Although of course it predates the Iraq war, but the first one.
One of them.
Yeah. The first one. It's after the first one. Yeah.
So his right-hand woman is a soldier of the Bajorans. Also on the ship, you have plenty of other people, including a shapeshifter who is their main security guy. You have this ridiculous-looking creature who is running the gambling.
He's a Ferengi.
Ferengi. And you also have his kid, who's just annoying. And you have O'Brien, who is someone from Next Generation, who's like a good guy. You have a young scientist dude.
Yep.
You have Dax, who is a woman who has this parasite in her that actually has been in 8 other hosts, and so the character's really like 300 years old. All this sounds bonkers and stupid, and that's what the pilot feels like. And then it all works. Like, it all works as a really good show about a city facing different types of turmoil, mostly in terms of ethical values towards elements, amusing fantasy-like things that happen to them, and just really difficult, like, war at times. I thought the show was really good.
So, I also think the show is really good. I am going to address this as a Trekkie, because so many of the things that you said, most of them were good. Many of them made me angry. but that's just because I'm a horrible gatekeeper-y Trekkie. So I actually weirdly grew up watching Voyager, because that was what was on when I was
That's the
most
one after
recently a
this one.
child. Yeah, and it's like no one likes Voyager, and I did. I mean, I was like, because I was watching it when I was a little kid, so it was the Star Trek to end. It was Star Trek. What is true about Star Trek, and even the original series, as dumb as it is, because it's real dumb, has these moments to it. I think the best comparison for Star Trek is Doctor Who. And in that...
It just pales in comparison.
In that... China Fire. In that it's about... in that many times its production values and acting fall short of its ideals. Oh, come on!
Only production values for Doctor Who.
Whatever. But that ultimately it is about very broad ideas. And Star Trek is so damn optimistic. It is, and so damn American. It is like the most American show. It's about how people are good, and we explore galaxies, and we do good things, and we are great, and we are kind, and we are inclusive, and we are diverse, and we are good. And I watched a pretty substantial amount of The Next Generation. I've seen all the movies, and I've watched most of Voyager. I had never seen Deep Space Nine. And what I had always heard about Deep Space Nine is, ooh, it's the dark Star Trek. And it's kind of true. And it is such a better show than the other ones for it. I mean, I'm watching this whole show. I've watched probably I skipped around a little bit in the first season because I wanted to get to the second season. There's 7 seasons total, and I feel like, honestly, I can't really give this a full review because from everything I've read, it hits its stride in season 4.
Well, we always give it a review, and if we watch more, like I've watched more, and I've reassessed.
I really want to keep watching this one because where The Next Generation, which is for the uninitiative, Picard, Jean-Luc Picard is and Patrick Stewart is the main character, is really plays it straight. He's the good guy. Other people are the bad guys. His decisions are always right. Not in an unpleasant way, but in a this is what a really good moral person is like. And Deep Space Nine is all about how friggin' complicated that is to figure out. One of my favorite episodes from this, I believe it's the second season, but one I just watched, is about the Cardassians, who are this occupying force on Bajor, leave behind orphans. So basically, they've been on Bajor for a while, they leave behind some orphans, and there's this orphan that's adopted by a Bajoran family who's Cardassian. And he's a teenager, and meets another Cardassian for the first time and hates him. And it's all about different societal values and what you do with that. It's about, whether or not different cultures can actually coexist, or whether actually there are times where we really can't, and where we really have to be separate in order to be happy. And it wrestles with those questions. And comes to satisfying answers that don't ever seem pat. I really appreciate it. It feels really important right now because it's interesting to me that both this and The Next Generation, they're 90s shows, and the 90s are this period of there's this element of super optimism where everything is going up in the 90s and nothing can ever go down, and that was when I was growing up, and TNG is that show, right? I mean, everything is great. Nothing is dark. We're always going forward and out and exploring new wonderful things, and Voyager has that element too. This is the dark side of the 90s. This is everything is actually a little bit more complicated than we think it is.
Now, Lee, did you watch the show as well?
I watched the pilot and then 3/4 of the next episode. I do have kind of a perspective on it though, because I grew up like Sarah watching Star Trek, except again I my very, very formative years were in Germany, where we only had AFN, so we saw like an hour of the original series every day, and then an hour of Next Generation every day.
Amazing.
Yeah, so the original series was on during the daytime, and then Next Generation was like prime time. So, like, those Captain Kirk and Picard make up my childhood. They are icons in my childhood. So when Deep Space Nine came up, I was like, well, I think I've heard of it, and like I have friends who love this show, and they say it is like probably the best Star Trek, but I just never got into it, and I'm with Sarah. I'm going to continue watching this because it is really great. Like, just even the pilot, as crazy and weird and as disjointed as it is still really interesting.
Well, the pilot to me, like, it was hard for me as someone going in as a very, like, not very trained Star Trek fan, I guess. Because it's referring to either a movie or a TNG episode that I don't know about, where Picard is controlled by the Borg. And that's confusing. So, and that happened a couple times in the show where I just realized I'm jumping into the third of a series, because this is a famous character from a previous thing. And then 5 minutes of Wikipedia made me fine. But the pilot sets all these different characters, but then it goes crazy in a really cool way of what happens when Cisco goes into the wormhole.
Oh, it's nuts and cool.
And it's really interesting. But it also underlies, to me, the only real fundamental flaw of the show, which is Cisco is lame and the actor is terrible.
Aw, I think he gets better over time.
Yeah, he was probably the weakest part, I feel, of the pilot, because, like, again, I have Captain Kirk and Picard, and then you get Cisco, and it's like, oh, he's kind of a wet blanket, isn't he?
He gets better over time. I think that he does... There's a woodenness to Star Trek dialogue that the great Star Trek actors manage to get beyond. Like, Picard somehow manages to deliver the exact same dialogue lines that Cisco's got, with this sort of, like, twinge to them.
Stewart's a Shakespeare
Patrick
actor.
Stewart's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Cisco's no Patrick Stewart. But I do think as a character, he becomes a lot more interesting as time goes
Cisco's
on.
no Shatner.
Yeah. I mean, there's, like, I think his relationship with Dax is really interesting, and I think the actor does that really well. Dax's previous... I mean, let's be clear. Dax is basically like a weird worm thing that lives inside a pretty girl. And they're like some fusion of the pretty girl and the worm thing's personalities. At some basic level, that's the story.
I could not... I had real issues with this character for the longest time because I couldn't understand whether or not the female host, like, knew what she was getting into of kind of merged personalities. I didn't really get what was going on. But luckily,
and then there's that fucking amazing episode.
It's like 6 or 7 around there, like, the episode called Dax, where Dax is put on trial because of what the previous host had supposedly done, but whether or not this person's allowed to be held responsible for that.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
And that was really cool, especially because it was also the bad guy from 24 as,
yeah, it was.
as that.
But yeah.
The 90s guest stars. Jonathan Banks from Breaking Bad made one hell of an alien.
There's good stuff. I mean, it's definitely... But I think Cisco gets better as he gets more for his character to invest in. And he's better as a supporting character than as a lead. So he does best
most of the show.
Yeah, so he does best in the stories where somebody else is the lead, and he gets to react.
I also like him because the show got sillier than I thought it would, which I'm very grateful
very
for.
Silly. It's Star Trek.
And to have him go up against that as a lame dude. There's an episode called Only Wishes Have Horses.
I gotta watch this one. I haven't seen it.
Has Rumpelstiltskin appear?
Sure.
And this Asian man who was part of one of the last World Series. And other really crazy things from their imagination that keep appearing. And to have him be the leader of the space station, recognizing these are all from their imagination, but not what to do with it, but still interacting with someone who he knows, like, isn't real, was a very charming thing, especially since the thing that was being replicated was a hero of his. That episode was also really good because, like a lot of episodes in Season 1, it had a very smart plot turn in the middle of the episode. that did just make it a very simple formulaic thing. That also happened in the penultimate episode, which was a really good kind of showdown between a Cardassian and the right-hand woman whose name I forget. And it's just not fully understanding like the politics of a war that just ended, and it was good. It was really good, and the show's not perfect. Some shows are a bit cringeworthy. I think Nod is a terrible character.
Oh wait, we have to talk about the Ferengi actually.
Yep.
Quark.
Go ahead.
Oh man. So here's the thing. Probably the most interesting character in this show, in a lot of important ways, is Quark, who is the proprietor of the gambling establishment on the ship.
The loosest morals by far.
Yeah, but he's really interesting. Has a really interesting sort of like frenemy relationship with the constable, who also happens to be a shapeshifter or whatever. Like a lot of the Quark episodes are really good, and everything about him is interesting. If you ask the cast or the showrunners, what they will tell you is that Quark was supposed to represent the 20th century human, with sort of a like complicated, very capitalist, with complicated relationships with the idea of like personal gain versus the good of all, which would all be fine if the Ferengis weren't space Jews, which they are, and it's super awkward. They have giant ears and very prominent noses, and all of the actors who play them are very, very Jewish, including Wallace Shawn, and it's so not okay. Like, it's so not okay. And he's such a good character that, like, goes well beyond the Jewish stereotype to make, like, really interesting points that I think are what the showrunners wanted to make. But, it's really, really awkward because he's really definitely a space Jew, and it's really not okay.
And this is a phrase that has been used. It has its own TV tropes.
Sure.
Criticism.
But it comes mostly, the idea of the space Jew comes mostly from the Ferengi, who are literally a capitalist race known for their banking prowess, who prize money over everything else, and have large noses and ridiculously large ears. It's just not okay. It's anti-Semitic. It's not okay.
Yeah, it's a problem. I think it is highlighted more early in the season. I think they... No, it's
a problem. But Quark is, like...
Quark's a strong character. I especially
liked
him.
And the Ferengi predate Deep Space Nine. The Ferengi were originally created as villains for The Next Generation, which is this is all like in the 90s. This is not like 60s shit. Like, we thought this was okay in like 1990, and it wasn't. But the Ferengi were basically so silly in their over-exaggerated capitalism that no one could take them seriously. So they were relegated in TNG to sort of like a joke race. And Quark is interesting. Quark is fun. I mean, like, if he just didn't look like what he looked like, which makes it a space Jew thing, he would be a really interesting character.
Much like the Sontarans, except not anti-Semitic. They were a decent villain, but way better recontextualized by Moffat.
Right, exactly. No, yeah. And he's it's a pretty good analogy. Like, it's kind of interesting, and that's what Quark's all about. And he's a lot of fun.
He was really good in another super weird episode when most of the cast were trapped inside a board game.
Oh yeah, that episode. I really like that episode, actually.
It's very silly, and the board game scenes could have been better, but they clearly had $10 to spend, so they played hopscotch for one scene.
I recommended this episode to you because it looks like a Doctor Who episode.
Oh, because it's very similar to the Celestial Toymaker from the 60s.
Sure.
Which is not...
Sounds like Jumanji.
It's got that feel to it, too, a little bit.
I love Jumanji. Shut up, Pedro.
Jumanji's great.
That was good, and... one more thing I was going to mention. There's some apparently beloved character from TNG that has an episode in this. He's like a weird god.
Oh, Q.
That feel like it did not work. I needed more context for that one.
Yeah, well, and definitely the pilot, and then also I think the Q episode. You're right as well. Like, if you haven't watched TNG, you're gonna miss some stuff. Like this is a spinoff. Like, that's what it is.
It is, and that's fair.
But luckily, it gets into its own groove very quickly.
I agree. Only the Q episode felt like completely like you're missing things. The pilot is like 20% you're missing stuff.
Right.
But the Q episode, apparently it's just kind of this godlike creature who messed with Picard for a while.
Yeah, you gotta like Q.
He's kind of like stalking this lady. But I know him as Jane's dad in Breaking Bad. So
Yeah.
I know him from this role, not his very famous sci-fi role that he played for a long time.
He's cute.
But yeah, it's ran for 7 seasons.
Yeah, there's a lot to watch.
I
And
finished-
7 like full 90s seasons, like 24 episodes of 40 to 45-minute shows.
I really liked it. I'm gonna keep watching more when I have time, and I was very impressed this time for Hinges, and I will give this a 4.5.
I will too. 4.5.
Lee, I think you have to watch a couple more episodes for you to
Yeah,
come back
I
for
feel
a
like
review.
you
No, that's
should,
totally
you should
fine.
do it, but do keep watching. It's really good.
And you're welcome to chime back in whenever you want with
Sure.
your rating. But until then, that's the end of episode 62.
Woo-woo!
Yay!
That was one hell of an episode. Pedro,
Yes.
what do you think of that episode?
It was alright.
What?
I think
Just alright.
last week's episode was probably better. Was it last week?
Jesus
Or the,
Christ.
the week before?
They just finished listening to this.
Well, we had an episode that had like a lot of heavy hitters and like big placers on our lists. This was, I mean, the food was really interesting.
You
The
didn't
song
like
was
my
fun.
assessment
The
of this
movie was
bear
really
book?
cool.
Jeez,
The-
guys.
I actually never heard. Hey, intern.
Speaking of
Not
heavy
featuring
hitters,
anymore.
here I am.
Hey, Andrew, how you doing? We missed you.
Did you catch my joke?
Yeah, we did.
No, wait, what?
I made a joke just then.
I'm bad at jokes.
What do you think jokes are?
Funny.
Cute.
And Pedro just laughed.
I did.
That's not a standard you want.
Sure, it is.
I don't care anymore. I'm feeling like we're cohorts in some big revenge plot.
It
We
is.
are
It
cohorts.
literally is. That's not
This is
a metaphor. That's,
Yeah.
We're taking revenge on Bethany.
Speaking of, last week I asked Lee to come up with a plan. Have you?
So, have we tried Rumpelstiltskin?
Go
I'm
on.
Like-
listening.
Like, are we sure that Bethany is actually Bethany's name? Does she not maybe
Ooh,
have a different
A
name we
true
need to
name.
find?
Ooh, I
Yeah.
like this.
This is not a bad idea, actually. Lee, I
Yeah.
want you to start doing some awesome, like, investigative research, like library montages and like horror films and whatnot.
Alright,
Try to find some names that could be Bethany's.
alright. I'll get right on that.
And
that.
don't limit yourself to actual human names, or names come up with names that humans have come up with.
Are you having a stroke?
No, I am an old god and I don't get sick.
Okay.
Nice.
I thought you were an intern to the
No, he's not an intern anymore. It's like the big thing.
I have secretly quit, but I still do have to perform my tasks as an intern.
Oh, okay.
Namely, coming here and speaking to you, but it's much more fun now. I found that we're co-conspirators.
Oh, I thought you were full time. That's my bad.
Wait,
No, it's more of a part-time thing.
Pedro's been taking his role very seriously.
I have.
You spent all week. I think you found a relic, right?
I did. Okay, so my whole life growing up, as far as I know and remember, which is not very reliable, I guess, because
No.
of Bethany. I've
Yes,
had this
no,
this
it's
cool this cool rock thing. It's a flat round rock, and I thought it was just kind of cool looking and had a bunch of like weird symbols and stuff. Well, for some reason, after the podcast, I took it down. I was like, let me look more into this. Turns out it's ancient Greek that's on the rock. And what it says is Euclid gets 5 hills. And there's a little plus sign on one side and a little minus sign on the other. So I licked it and it gave me a buzz. I think this is one of our reviews from way back in the time of the ancient Greeks. And it's a little power cell. Obviously, it has to be. Because how else do you get power from our reviews? I can't think of anything else that it could be. It's a review of Euclid. He got 5 hills, I guess.
Who's Euclid?
Euclid is one of the famous Greek
He's a
mathematicians.
mathematician.
Fine. Like, I don't know what I said. Fine.
That's fun.
That was your bonus review hundreds of years ago.
Thousands. Yeah, I guess.
Oh
I
my
don't know.
god.
I thought it was just a cool rock. But yeah, I licked it and it like tingled me a little bit. And it made me think of myself in a toga. Could have been a memory. I don't know. But yeah.
That could possibly be helpful.
Yeah.
No, actually, I do know what that rock is, and it is actually soaked in wine, so it will give you a buzz if you lick it.
Oh.
Mm.
Oh.
Very old wine. Very delicious.
So I just decided to write down Euclid gets 5 henges.
Wait, I think it probably actually is. I mean, if all the reviews go to Bethany to power her, whatever, and this one like slipped by her from a long time ago, that's useful.
I could have stolen it.
Yeah.
I really like Euclid. He was cool. Although he cheats a lot. If you actually read his elements real
I don't
closely,
think
he
you can activate the power by licking it, but you just keep doing that. It seems like.
I like all things that may be powered.
Weird.
If
Okay.
the rock is flat and smooth enough,
It is very flat and smooth.
you might try throwing it into the largest body of water that you can find.
I'll
And
never
if it's-
skip my rock. I'm very attached to this rock.
No, you must. You must skip it to find its power.
Guys,
Or he's
Skip it.
trying to make you lose your rock.
but I love my rock.
No, you must skip it, Pedro.
What if the rock actually was like a typical looking rock, and Pedro's been licking it for thousands of years, and now it's all smooth?
But where am I going to find a large body of water?
You live
Yeah.
in Chicago!
I look out the window right now.
Oh, this is fun.
My rock.
I
No.
do
I
must.
should have never told you.
I must now go, though, and continue our efforts. I will also come up with some names and have them for you next week, and I will charge Adam with coming up with.
Wait, he infamously never listens to this podcast, so I think what you should do is take this knife and carve a message into his arm.
No. Give him a piece of paper.
No, we don't need
No.
It
paper.
worked in Jumper.
Here, take this knife.
Jumper, Looper?
Yeah.
Looper?
And just mark this, and just tell him, like,
That's
I don't know.
Right now?
Yeah. You don't do
That's
anything now, right?
devious.
Yes.
Wait,
Actually,
why
do-
am
will
I
you
allowed?
feel it?
No, don't do that.
What?
Too
Piece
late.
of paper!
We'll just tell him. I'll tell him.
This will encourage him to listen to the podcast.
Sounds
Will it?
good.
Will having
I
a
suppose so.
cut into his arm encourage him to listen to the thing that made him cut his arm?
Yep.
As my co-conspirators, I will trust you this once, and you shall tell him his task.
Sounds good.
Your next number is 363.
We could brand it.
363. Ooh, that's a fun number because it's a
363 's a
palindrome, and 3 plus 3 equals 6.
It is.
It's a really fun one. Does that mean it's
And it's
divisible by
the-
11?
Remember that
It's
dumb
divisible
episode
by
when
three.
Pedro
Oh, it
said...
is, because
I think
it's
it is, 'cause
three...
it's,
Wait,
I think
hold on.
it is.
It starts with a 3, ends with a 3, 3, 3.
feel like
Yeah, it's
that's real,
33.
right?
It's 33 times 11, right?
Yeah.
There's a
I
dumb
think
episode
so.
when Pedro said
Three.
every palindrome's interesting.
It
So it's
is.
3, yeah.
That's not true. All right, the movie is Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Oh!
I
I've
said,
heard of
what
that.
about breakfast at Tiffany's? Anyway, the food's going.
It's like 2 more lines.
The children's book is The Day the Babies Crawled Away by Peggy Rathman.
Oh no, babies.
The album is Oxygene by Jean-Michel Jarre.
Oh, the song is Alyssa on My Mind by Elvis. We got
It's
an Elvis song.
always.
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 Not Alyssa. Reading's hard. I think there's a typo in
Is it?
here.
No, it's not.
No, there's not actually.
This is a
Shit.
published book that you're looking at. And the television show is the British miniseries Edge of Darkness. So, all that will be
The
reviewed.
Star Trek one?
I wish.
Oh, shit. No, it's not.
Dang.
That would have been a great transition to 2 different mediums. Anyhow, all that will be reviewed next Thursday on the Immortals episode 63.
Yep.
Plus more bullshit of relics and plans and stuff. Oh, Adam will catch you up.
Oh, great.
Oh, you have to do something.
Yeah. They almost made you carve your arm.
Well, no. I thought he should be branded.
You're the one who said give him the knife!
Shh, Lee, you're cutting out. Until then, you can also follow us on Twitter at the Immortals Pod. I literally just tweeted a picture of the food we ate, and also proof that Pedro prints out Wikipedia.
Oh, yeah, I do.
And you can email us at theimmortals@theartimmortal.com. You can follow us on YouTube, which is The Immortals. Let's Take 5 is the other podcast at theartimmortal.com, the place where you can leave a comment on this episode and any other episode. Let's Take 5 of the podcast, where Eric Martindale and myself, we take a cinema legend and take 5 of their films to highlight their excellence and range. Yesterday, on our bonus episode, where we wrapped up Pixar, we picked our next 5, which is Stanley Kubrick. And tomorrow, we're starting that off with his noir film.
The way you said that made Stan Lee sound like a separate thing. So Stan Lee Kubrick, and now I want mashup films of Stan Lee and Kubrick.
I'm gonna name my kid that.
The end.
Don't have children. We're starting with The Killing. That comes out tomorrow. And speaking of tomorrow, there's a new episode of Ad Absurdum.
Hell yeah, there is! Jurassic Park, guys. Woo! We're doing it! How do they get insured? How much money are they out after Jurassic Park versus after Jurassic World? Can these people sign away their rights? Do they assume risks? Why do they let teenagers drive the gyroscopes? Are dinosaurs on the endangered species list? We do a lot of shit. It should be a good time.
Pedro's so happy right now. We reviewed that movie a while ago.
We did.
Yeah.
Go find it. I don't know what episode it is.
You bred raptors?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, here. This is silly. That's it for this week. My name's Austin.
I'm Adam.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Lee.
And I'm Pedro.
Catch you next week, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Okay, let's start with Launchpad McQuack. That's not the actual title.
Where